Good morning, everybody, and a happy Friday morning to you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I knew something was up. There was just no way around it. And I think we're there. I bet you can tell from the picture what it is. Let's just jump in and get busy because there's so much. This is another really long video. Let's just get busy, shall we? Let's go. All right, we're starting off once again with Crown Princess Mette-Marit. The Norwegian palace confirmed that she underwent a lung transplant surgery. She's the wife of Prince Haakon. She was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis in 2018. She's been dealing with serious health problems since then. They didn't want to tell anybody until it was over. So they're saying it was successful and the medical team is satisfied with the transplant. She will be in the hospital for several weeks to recover. And yeah, I wish nothing but the best for her. Good luck. Let's move on to Princess Catherine. And as a nurse of 30 years, this story really upsets me. They're saying that there was an investigation because when Catherine went into the hospital in January of 2024 for her abdominal surgery, apparently one member of staff attempted to illegally access her medical records. So they did a criminal investigation and the nurse who did it was fired. Now, let me just say, I'm sure that those hospitals work like the hospitals here in the United States where they use EMRs, electric medical records, and it leaves a signature when you enter the record, if you're in there. Now, if you're in the ER, sometimes you click on the wrong chart. Nobody cares about that. But what they found was that she misused the information and offered to sell the information for financial, gain. She offered to sell it, which is a clear breach of trust. People have to be able to trust that their information they're giving is safe and protected. And so she was fired. However, they're not going to prosecute her from what I'm reading. I don't understand why. At the very least, she should lose her nursing license, in my opinion. Moving on. All right, really quickly, I just wanted to touch on this. Maybe I missed something. We know that Andrew has been barred from Gettr events, but it's my understanding he's been removed, that he's not a member of the Order of the Garter. So I don't understand why these articles are coming out going, oh, the king removed him. He's been removed. He's gone. So I'm not sure that I understand these articles, but all right, moving on. Let's move on now to Ascot Day 2. I'm not sure I recognize people in the carriages, but this is the day that Carol Middleton, Princess Catherine's mother, and James Middleton and his wife, I believe her name is Elise, hope I'm saying that correctly, showed up for Ascot. And Carol Middleton was wearing the dress that she wore to Pippa's wedding 9 years earlier, and it still fits her gorgeously. Now, let's talk about the carriages. For carriage 1, we have the King, the Queen, Daniel Chatto, and Lady Sarah Chatto. Very nice. Carriage number 2, we have the Prince of Wales, the Princess of Wales, the Duke of Richmond and Gordon, and the Duchess of Richmond and Gordon. Again, people I had not heard of. Now, this was a nice little exchange, and Catherine just looks so lovely. Now, I have to be honest, this canary yellow is not my favorite color. You guys already know that. But on her, it literally is just like a ray of sunshine. But it's just not my favorite color. I'm sorry. But I still think she looks absolutely gorgeous. For those of you who don't know, this is the first time back. I believe it's 3 years, maybe 4 years. So this is really a triumphant return for her. She looks gorgeous. Let me let you guys know really quickly that in carriage number 3, you had Mr. Rory Stewart, I believe that's Rod Stewart, and Mrs. Rory Stewart, the Lady Sarah Keswick, the Marchioness of Lansdowne, and in the 4th carriage, you had Mr. William Haggis, Mrs. William Haggis, Mr. John Gosden, and Miss Rachel Hood. I have no idea who those other people are, and right now I'm not going to research it, but that's who was in the entire carriage procession. Now, obviously, they get to the enclosure, they get out. Catherine does a perfect curtsy for King Charles, and another curtsy for Queen Camilla. And they were milling about talking to all kinds of family members that just happened to be there. It also looks like it was quite windy. I really love Catherine's hat, but I can't imagine that you're wearing something that you constantly have to hang on to. Now, for those of you who don't recognize her, the lady that Catherine just kissed and is speaking to is Lady Gabriella Kingston. We remember her. She is the young lady whose husband unalived himself after taking some medication. It looks like it was a medication-induced haze that the guy was in. But anyway, I'm really happy to see her out and about, and she's gorgeous. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I hope she starts dating again. From what I hear, she's really, really a nice young lady, and she deserves happiness. She deserves to meet somebody else and move on with her life. Yeah. All right, let's continue. In watching everybody get together, it appears something was wrong with Sir Tim's buttonhole. I don't know if he misbuttoned his jacket or what, but Anne was trying to help him, and then Mike Tyndall stepped up to help him. Of course, Zara was there as well, looking absolutely gorgeous. I love the dress, love the hat. I don't know if that's considered a hat, but I just love the hat. Now, really quickly, also, we noticed the Queen was wearing the Williamson pink diamond brooch, earrings from her pink topaz and diamond personal collection, and one of the Queen Mother's Cartier bracelet. I love these pieces of jewelry. Very nice. Now, again, Catherine was wearing a yellow sunshine dress, and she went then with everybody else up to the royal box. Now, there were a lot of people up in the royal box, including former England manager Sir Gareth Southgate. Don't forget, England's World Cup game against Croatia is coming up. So, yeah. One of the people that was there at Ascot, this just shows you how nice Catherine is, because she doesn't have to say anything but thank you or, waving or whatever. But somebody yelled out to Catherine, "You look gorgeous." And she replied, "Thank you. I'm hoping the sun stays out," which made some people chuckle. But yeah, she looked gorgeous. And as for William, he also engaged with onlookers. Somebody yelled, "William, up the villa." And he goes, "Oh, oh." And then he pointed out to the crowd, which made everybody laugh. And then he goes, "I think people are saying that now. Are you?" Now, of course, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh was there. And you know who else was there? Mr. Christopher, Sophie's father. He'll be 95 years old this year and still going strong. And a video came out showing Edward greeting his brother and Sophie greeting the Queen. And it also looks like they have a really close personal relationship. Guys, when you get down to it, this is a family. So it's no wonder, and I hate to throw their names in the middle of this, but it's no wonder that Harry and Meghan came up with, we're going back to the UK, which, by the way, some interesting information has come out, and we'll be covering that in just a few minutes. But, think about it. You've got Catherine and William at Trooping the Colour, Catherine and William at Garter Day. I told you before, hearing about George going back to Eton. You have Catherine making a triumphant return to Ascot. They put out that coffee thing. Nobody's paying them a lick of attention because everybody's looking right here. A little bit of background for you. The race course was founded in 1711 by Queen Anne, who declared the heartland near Windsor Castle an ideal spot for horses to gallop at full stretch. The royal enclosure was established in 1807 with the running of the inaugural Gold Cup. It was originally conceived as an exclusive viewing area by King George IV. The royal procession the tradition started in 1825, featuring the monarch arriving in horse-drawn landaus along the Straight Mile and following a massive £200 million redevelopment between 2004 and 2006. The Crown Estate leased venue welcomes 600,000 racegoers every year. At some time, it was, trophy time, and William went down to give Jockey, his last name is Buick, his trophy. Catherine also went down and was handing out the trophies as well, looking absolutely gorgeous. By the way, you see the Ascot tie? It's a descendant of the elaborate cravats popularized by the 19th century dandy Beau Brummel. And in the late 1880s, the upper middle class in Europe began wearing this loosely tied white necktie as part of formal daytime dress or morning coats. Now that Jag is no longer guarding the king, he was able to dress up really dandy and head on down and enjoy the races himself. As part of the 50th year for the King's Trust, they were the featured charity at Royal Ascot. And young people supported by the trust were there, and Charles got to meet them. So the people are there gaining experience at the Ascot event from broadcast and performances. They're helping with security, catering, enterprise businesses. More than 20 trust-supported young people were working at the event. Very interesting the way they did the event, with all the doorways. The idea is the keys and archways were representing the range of doors that the trust helped open for the 1.3 million young people across 5 decades. William and Catherine put their own video up at the end of the day. Enjoy. And here comes the fashion parade from Remoulade Sauce and Carol M. Enjoy. All right, let's move on. You guys know there's an ITV British television contributor named Mirinda Carr, I think is how you say it. She called Prince William and Catherine entitled because they're sending George to Eton. She put it on X. She goes, Prince George should be attending a state school. No question about it. Nothing says out of touch quite like sending your child to Eton, a school for the privileged few, producing generation after generation of entitled elites. He's meant to be a future king. How is Eton representative of the working class? Now, keep in mind that this woman is such a squatty. She's right up there with Shouty Shola. She loves Meghan and Harry. So, I wouldn't surprise me to find out that Harry and Meghan asked her to put this up. Ugh, unbelievable. And of course, they had to throw something in there about Harry. I think it'll bring back memories for him because he wrote in Spare that his brother pulled rank on him and didn't want to speak to him. Well, if he'd been my brother, I wouldn't want to speak to him either. Well, moving on, what they're saying is that Meghan, remember she went to that thing and she's talking about skews and my learns and all of this kind of stuff. Well, what we're finding out now is that Meghan really doesn't have the know-how, the education, the ability to run this kind of business. Let's be honest, Meghan has no experience with she had the TIG, but she has no experience with supply chains and profit margins, and now there's a 9.5 million shortfall for her. Personally, I get the feeling that Meghan really doesn't know what she's doing. She wants you to believe that she's this great businesswoman, but I think at this point we've all figured out it's not even close. $9.7 million shortfall. I can't even imagine. All right, let's move on. And it's because Meghan doesn't know what she's doing that she's blown Harry's inheritance. And it's being reported now that they want to maintain their lavish lifestyle, but they don't have the money coming in. The financial reality has finally hit home. And now, of course, we know Harry and Meghan are planning a return to the UK, and we're getting these kinds of articles. Should the king meet with them? Should they do this? This is exactly what I told you was going to happen. And these kinds of articles are coming out now. Harry would like an invite to Sandringham, but apparently there's been a change in Charles's attitude. And after all these months of discussion, the visit was thought to be guaranteed, and the conversation has drastically shifted, and Harry's getting the runaround. It's the men in grey. The King's aides are refusing to nail down a date or send his schedule. They keep making excuses, and Charles is backing them up. So there isn't much for Harry to say. It's a nightmare for him. He's devoted so much time and energy to building a bridge with his father, and now it's looking that it might be for naught. You get it? Here we go. Here come the articles. It's Harry's putting out the olive branch, and it's the mean, horrible royal family won't give him a break. You know, Harry keeps saying he wants to introduce his kids to their cousins and to the wider family. I'm trying to figure out who he's talking about, because there is nobody in that family, apart from maybe Eugenie and Charles, that would go out of their way to meet him. Now, personally, I agree with this article. Meghan going back to the UK is absolutely showing how desperate they are. Meghan and Harry want to get back in the royal fold. I mean, listen, Harry could have jumped on a Zoom call and said, okay, it's a year to go. Good luck. Let's go for it. But instead, they're all showing up, and it's a nothing burger. Meghan is absolutely impervious to shame, and their business empires are struggling, and so they want to recalibrate with royal credentials. And Meghan is, the article says, and I completely agree, Meghan is in a pickle across the board, and they need to be back with the royals. They need the optics, they need the titles, they need the status, they need the elevated position, because Meghan's popularity, as I've told you before, in the United States is in the toilet. I mean, it's just terrible. This visit is self-serving, and it's being said like Harry's saying he wants the kids to get together, that it makes him sad. Well, the idea that this is just some random cause of sadness is such a manipulation because of the sequence of what really happened. People are pointing out that there's no question that King will make time in his diary to see his grandchildren. The question is, will he see Meghan? He's going to have to be very wary in how he acts because he doesn't want to offend William, the son who stood by him. And of course, the monarchy has to continue. Do I think Meghan will allow the children to see their grandfather without her? Oh, no way in hell. She has to have control over everything. That will be a condition, I assure you. People are pointing out that it's a big risk what they're doing, because while they're on safe ground at Invictus Games events, because, you know, the servicemen and their families, the rest of the UK is not as forgiving as she seems to think they are. People are not going to forgive her for the insults and the things she said about Catherine and the things that basically the things she said about the Queen and the entire royal family. They're not going to be accepted. Apparently, she's ready to take that risk. That it's being reported Meghan has come to the conclusion that staying locked in the same cycle of resentment and silence isn't benefiting anybody. However, most of the royal family don't trust her. They understand what her real intentions are, but she's really become convinced if there's any chance of repairing relationships, somebody has to open the door. Well, just because she's going to open the door doesn't mean somebody's not going to slam it in her face. I knew there had to be something else going on behind the scenes, and now it's been confirmed. They are turning this into a filmed event. They're bringing Netflix cameras to follow them back to Meghan's first official visit to England in 4 years. I mean, could you imagine? They're doing another fly on the wall project, and the idea that they're bringing a film crew with them is very unwelcome. And the project is supposed to spotlight Harry and Meghan's humanitarian efforts and being the Invictus Games. But the prospect of another behind the scenes series has really got the alarm bells ringing in the palace, and everybody's irritated. The focus of the new show is going to be much more heavily weighted towards their charitable work, but the reality is the cameras are still going to be following Harry and Meghan and documenting everything they do, and that's why nobody will meet with them. I hate to say this, but I honestly believe they've made a deal somewhere with somebody for something like exclusive photos or something, because there's no way that this would be happening unless Meghan and Harry could monetize it in some fashion other than Netflix. You know what I'm saying? There's something else going on here. To end this video, this article came out, and what it shows is that in the past few months, the public appearances and the social media posts from Harry and Meghan show that they're on different paths and they may be in different planets. You know, you've got Harry's appearance at the NBA. I think he's just happy to be, there sitting 8 rows back, but Meghan wants him to be front and center. It's like a Paul and Linda McCartney thing, because once they got married, Paul insisted that the wife and kids come on tour because he knew the dangers of long periods apart. But it's not just the basketball game from that weekend. On the same day as the match, Harry gave a video message about his upcoming Invictus Games in Dusseldorf. And then Harry commended Germany for setting an example of what it means to honor service. And on the same day, Meghan's doing a photo dump captioned Spring into Summer, where she's lying on the grass and nature shots and Archie playing onion cutting, whatever the hell that is, and Lilibet's t-shirt and her hugging, her husband. And it's a clash. Meghan is trying to sell stuff where Harry, it appears, is trying to make a difference. And so the chasm between Harry's commitment to duty and Meghan's obsession with building a brand is hardly new. And now the cracks are showing. Here's a perfect example. In November, Meghan and Harry went to Kris Jenner's birthday party. He looked okay mingling with the crowd, but people are saying he went to the event for Meghan because she's very impressed by A-listers, mansions, champagne towers, but he isn't because he grew up in an actual palace. His mother was the most famous woman on the planet. And look where that got her. He's sick of the bowing and the scraping. He wants to be ordinary and leave a legacy. But as soon as the photos came out that the Sussexes were at this party, people started to question why they were out partying with celebrities at the same time the rest of the royal family was marking Remembrance Day in Britain, and the photos were very quickly deleted. Was it because Harry couldn't stand being seen neglecting his old duties? And after the party came their tour to Australia in April. Meghan ensured that she used every opportunity available in Australia for self-promotion. And of course, considering the tour followed Netflix's announcement they were dropping her for, With Love Meghan back in March, people may be able to understand her behavior. So while Harry spent time meeting veterans, his wife was at the site of the massacre at Bondi Beach and then was simultaneously trying to sell her outfits on one-off. She's a minority shareholder in that business, so while Harry's busy trying to act like a working royal, Meghan was getting a slice of profit in one hand while shaking hands with victims' families with the other hand. Then, of course, we have that ridiculous Instagram post that Meghan put up of her daughter, bowing at her feet. Remember that one? And we had all assumed it was that Meghan was going to launch a fashion line since all of her fruit spread sales was not going well. And her unsold jars, we know, are getting ready to go past the sell-by date. So the timing, though, was odd because that was right before she went to Geneva, where she delivered that anti-social media speech to an empty area. She was invited there by the World Health Organization, and it was about online harms to teens, and she unveiled the lost screen memorial. So why is she posting photos of her daughter on social media the night before she gave an address warning against the dangers of the platforms? Now that irony could not have been lost on Harry. Could you just imagine him thinking about Meghan's tone-deaf approach, especially because his preference is privacy? But I'm sure he said something to her, but of course she's not listening to him. So does anybody really think that things are going to change when the family goes to Birmingham in 2027? Well, of course not. Meghan has to be a grifter to make her way in Hollywood, whereas Harry never had to try. She was on Suits, but now she's like a Real Housewives star. She's not an offshoot of the royal family. She's promoting her clothes. She's launching her lifestyle brand, and she's constantly sharing snaps, trying to make everybody believe that she and Harry are so in love and everything is fine. But the truth is, Harry wrote in Spare that fame for him was nothing more than a joke or a fancy captivity. He's more interested in doing good. But for Meghan, the perfect life is all about branding and staying relevant. Now, for those of you who haven't picked it up yet, the person that wrote this article, this is such a pro-Harry, anti-Meghan article. I really have to wonder if Harry had a hand in this article. I know that's going to sound crazy, but I'm really beginning to wonder. Now, I really want to know what you guys think about all this. Please put your comments down, make them good. I want your thought processes. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.